I think anytime you have a day like today where it's kind of the summit of a lot of work, I think it's important for me to recognize some of those people that really contributed to what we've accomplished today. We're extremely proud of the group of young men that were added to our team. A lot of the success we were able to have has a lot to do with the administration and some of the changes that they made in terms of the quality of the product that we had to offer the young man and his family. So we appreciate Dr. Savoy, Dr. Maggard, and all the people on campus that contributed to our success. I think our coaches did a great job. I think not only the coaches but their families, certainly a lot of time and sacrifice goes with that. These guys are away from their wives for weeks at a time, or some of these guys have got kids that, they're compromising a little bit of that. We certainly appreciate that. The guys not only did a good job recruiting and closing the deal, but I think they also did a really good job evaluating. We're very much a team operation in terms of how we recruit, and that requires these 10 assistant coaches to be really objective, lots of dialogue, lots of conversations, in reality trying to get the best players we can get. So, and sometimes that's maybe a guy in your area that isn't the best player. So I think these guys did a really good job of being selfless, being objective, and we made good decisions. I think the coaches get most of the attention, but we got a handful of people at our building that do a great job. Josh Thompson did an outstanding job in transition between William Piegler. Took a job at Colorado. I thought Josh did a great job kind of, taking the bull by the horns and coordinate some of the transition there. He's our director of recruiting and football logistics, and certainly took on a lot of the recruiting responsibilities. Did a heck of a job. We also have Katie Turner as our director of on-campus recruiting, kind of the customer service side. Katie did a great job coordinating all the events. Anytime a young man and his family came to our campus, she's the point person on that and did an outstanding job. Ainsley Dyer is another person who, she's kind of Josh's assistant, does a really good job there, was pivotal in a lot of things that we were doing behind the scenes. Troy Winggerter's name, anytime you're the chief of staff, a lot goes with that. So being the football operations guy does quite a bit for us, and we appreciate the time and effort he put into that. Courtney Davis is another person that kind of my assistant, helps out on the official visits. Ainsley and Courtney do all of our travel. We wouldn't be where we're at without those guys. 3 other people, Nick McDonald, Andrew Burkett, Tyler Morvant, and Des Ralston's a young man who went on to another job. Those 4 guys are quality control people for us in recruiting and personnel. You don't see them in the paper much, but they're the nuts and bolts of behind the scenes in terms of what we're doing. So a great team effort is what I would say. And certainly anytime you're recruiting people, it takes not only a good effort on their part in how we do it, but certainly the personal side of that, building relationships, and I think we did that. We got a great product to sell here. I continue to have more conviction about what we can accomplish here, and certainly that starts with personnel and recruiting the best of the best. You guys know that when we started a year ago, our plan was to start inside out in terms of how we recruit. And I think we executed our recruiting plan better than maybe any part of our plan so far this year. Certainly made some progress on the field, but I think the recruiting plan was executed really well, and that takes a lot of people. So we're excited. 17 players, I think, from the state of Louisiana out of 26. And, the guys that we did sign out of state are nearby, right on the perimeter. We'll continue that plan of attack in 2020. This is a talented group, but also tremendous people that come from great families, and guys that we're excited to see, how they're going to transition in terms of how we do things here with the discipline that they have, the effort that they play with, the toughness that they show, and certainly as they embrace our culture and how we do things. So with that being said, we'll take a few questions here.
What are the highlights of some of the additions?
I think it's a well-rounded class. I think we, most classes that we sign going forward, there's not going to be many positions where we don't take a player. But every year it's going to be about winning at the line of scrimmage. I think we did a really good job adding some big physical people on both fronts. Certainly the measurables are good on these guys, but I think they also are guys that have character and are going to be good teammates. But I think we did a good job evaluating. We beat some really good teams for some of these guys, and I think that, hopefully if they transition well, they can make an impact.
What about individually the ones now as opposed to the prior from December?
This crew that we signed today, I think is a product of maybe evaluating what was left over. Certainly we had intentions of adding another quarterback. I think we did that. A little bit of a unique story behind that one, but I think a guy that has some talent that we can develop, and certainly to add Jaquan Nelson this morning was a big deal. Gives us a 3-for-3 junior college player that's got some size and stature and has played some ball and will be able to give us some immediate depth there at that spot.
The quarterback, what made you trust knowing what he went through, that it's worth rolling the dice, if you will? And he said he had a red shirt here. Might you utilize that or no?
Well, I think Ave is a guy, and the fans will learn to call him Ave. He's a young man who has tremendous character, tremendous family situation. Guy who's from actually Washington, state of Washington, played junior college ball in Southern California. Really came down to play in his first freshman year in junior college, had a great year going and got hurt in the final regular season game. A pretty significant injury, 18-month recovery. He's at about 15 months, 14 months right now today. So he sat out last year, did not play football. 6'2½", 230 pounds by our measurements, big athletic guy who's got arm talent. But more than anything, I was just impressed with his approach toward life. I think he's a great character, a great teammate, a guy that's selfless, and a guy that's excited about work. And he'll actually be here. If things go the way we plan them, he'll be here the last week of February actually and be able to enroll and participate in spring practice. He probably won't be 100% cleared because of his knee injury until after that, but he'll be non-contact throughout spring and be able to participate. So we'll get a chance to work with him pretty soon.
No red shirt intended.
He's 4 for 3, and hey, we don't make our mind up about that now. That's a bridge that we'll cross when we get there.
Could you give us an overview and just a breakdown of the guys you got from STM and what you like about them?
The local kids?
Yeah, from STM.
Well, I think that, the big thing here is that we executed our plan. I think we evaluated every recruit in this state that had any opportunity to play at the next level. I thought our guys were really thorough. Like for example, right now it's the 2020 class. For me, I haven't evaluated any players outside the state. That's where we're going to start. And these local guys, not just the St. Thomas More guys, but the kids that are from Acadiana, we're really familiar with those guys, and I think that we look forward to working with those guys and seeing how they can contribute.
Can you talk about Andrew Gleason? He had no offers. You came in, and all of a sudden the offers started rolling in.
I think Andrew's a guy who had a knee injury as a junior, comes from a football family. His grandfather, Jerry Arledge, is the coach there. Andrew came to our junior day last spring. I think he weighed 223 pounds. Came in for his official visit a couple weeks ago, weighed 243. So he's close to 6'3", 6'2½", 6'2 3/4", but just a guy that plays the game the right way. Tremendous motor, a little bit limited early in the season, but you could see as that knee got healthy, he had tremendous production. Played alongside Dalvin Hutchison's another kid that we signed. So I think Andrew's got a bright future and really another kid that's got character that's going to play with a certain level of effort and toughness and be a great teammate once he arrives. So, and you know, once you throw the offer there, everybody starts watching the tape, and I thought that was a good indication that we made a good decision.
It seemed to be a concerted effort for a result of northern Louisiana. How much did Rob Sale have a play?
Well, Rob's a Monroe native, you know, played obviously at Neville High School there. You know, has tremendous relationships throughout, you know, so we maybe get some information that others don't, I would say. But, you know, 2 players from Neville, 2 players from West Monroe. One of the things I think if you look at this class as a whole, in-state in particular, we took players from winning programs, players that expect success, know how to work. You know, when you get a guy from West Monroe and Neville, those guys have been through all-season programs. They know what's required in the investment, the sacrifice that goes with advancing and playing in big games. Certainly you could see that this year with Max Mitchell, you know, his transition to play as a true freshman. I think that's an indication of the type of player that you get when you go to those programs.
What's the backstory on the JUCO D lineman, how that fell into place?
Jaquan was actually coached by a graduate assistant that worked with Rory Segrest at Arkansas. Guy that played alongside, you know, I think there was 8 or 9 kids on that one team at that position that signed Division I scholarships today. So not a ton of tape on the guy. Played as a backup player, but 6'2.5", 6'3", 285-pound guy that has ability. We evaluated him. We've been recruiting him for a long time. Had opportunities at Louisiana Tech, Houston, a couple teams like that. But a guy that we had an inside source kind of stamped the guy, vetted him, you know, and we're excited about him being here June the 1st.
What allowed you to be able to announce more today than what you were originally talking about in December? Who did you back count? How did some of those openings come up? And then what are the, I don't think you can talk about them on the blue shirts, at least what are the numbers playing wise?
Right. Well, I think those specifics are something we'd probably like to keep to ourselves in terms of strategy, you know. That'd be like me telling ULM what plays we're going to run on Saturday. So I think we did a great job of, you know, evaluating the rules, looking at different ways to add players to our roster, and I think our staff did a really good job. I think we're a little bit ahead of the game in terms of how we did it. But the good thing is we're going to add close to 26 scholarship players here. Will be some count forward, some count back, but a lot of that has to do with the ins and outs of roster management. I think there's a lot of games won and lost in terms of how you manage that 85 scholarship roster. So the good thing is we found a way to get it done. I think it's a great thing anytime you got this amount of players that have this level of ability that also had the intangibles. They believe in you, you believe in them, and that's what I'm excited most about this group.
The guys you have,
did you get to 85? I'm sorry. Did you get to 85?
We don't have to be at 85 today. You know, we just got to be at 85 by the time we start school next year. So,
with the guys you already have on campus and the guys you've added with this class, you know, who do you foresee as the main candidates for the quarterback position next year?
I mean, we're going to let them all play, you know. I mean, we're going to take the same approach we took last year. At this time last year, you know, we could have flipped a coin in here and picked a guy. You know, nobody really knew. Levi, obviously, is the leader in the clubhouse. You know, he's got significant experience. He's been around here. You know, so Levi, he'll run out there with the ones on the first day of spring practice, and we'll have lots of guys compete between now and the first game, and we'll make our decision as we approach that opener in New Orleans.
And then what source of pride do you have for this class? Obviously, you just got here for signing day last season, so what source of pride do you have for this class just completing your first year here as a Ragin Cajun?
Well, I think it gives me conviction about the people that we've hired. That's what I would say. And the leadership that we have in our administration. We got some people that really understand what it takes. A lot of time and effort goes into it, a lot of teamwork. And certainly, you know, anytime you finish a class like this, a lot of people did their job really well. And I think that's what we got today. A lot of people worked really hard, did their job well. we're only going to get better. I would say that in everything that we do. We're getting ready to do this for a second time. And that's one thing about the people that we got over there in football. They're all consistently trying to improve at what they do. So we'll continue to get better. This is a good first group, I'll say that. I'm excited about the type of people that we've added as much as I am the size, speed, the measurables, the production that they had in high school. We got a good group here, and this is one not only I think will play pretty good, but I think they'll represent this place the right way when they do get here.
You mentioned something about the 2020 class. You hadn't gone out of state at all. How much work did you do towards the 2020 class between the early signing period and today?
Well, you know, one of the things that I believe this job's different than maybe if you're at down the road or in another league. I think we're a little slow to go. You know, we're pretty patient. I think we're going to kind of let the dust settle, but we're going to evaluate this state first. I do think we can do a little bit better job in maybe some of the surrounding areas, you know, whether that's Houston or South Mississippi. But, you know, that's where we start, you know, and we got to put those guys first and really get a good feel for what the state has to offer, maybe what positions are a little short-handed, where we need to go from there. But that's just how we do it, you know, and I think signing 17, I'm not exactly sure what the numbers are, but I think it's 17 out of 26 in-state players. This is what we want to do, okay? You can say what you want to say, but when we line up out here and play, if they're from nearby here, if they're from this state, they're going to put on that all red and play a little bit harder than maybe some other guy. You know, they got to go home in Christmas and deal with, if we ain't playing good, you know, they got to deal with that in their community, just like I got to do when I go to the grocery store, you know. So I also think that if we're playing well and doing things the right way, there's going to be a certain level of pride that goes with that, and that's what we want. So I think there's going to be some positives to that. I also think there's going to be more people to show up and play, show up and watch a group play that's you can get in the car and drive to their high school from right here in a couple hours. So that's the plan. We executed the plan. I think, again, like I said before, the recruiting plan, we executed it as well as anything we did this first year.
You mentioned you don't have to get to 85 until that time. Does that mean you're still in some flexibility? You still have some options?
Yeah, you may see a few things happen later tonight or tomorrow. You know, we're still waiting on a few. But I think that, you know, it's constantly changing. It changes every day, you know, depending on what happens between now and then.
Well, can you address the preferred walk-on program for just a minute? When you go out to do that, are you looking for a certain number of players? Do you go ahead and break it down position-wise like you do for scholarship players? If you just address how you go ahead and make decisions about your preferred walk-ons.
Well, we like to have a roster of 50 players on our team as walk-ons. We carry 85 scholarship players, 50 walk-ons. Josh Thompson actually kind of coordinates that effort. He's in charge of that whole operation. Has done a great job. We added quite a few last year, you know, and that could be a guy that we recruit from point A to point B while he's in high school, or that might be a guy that's just going to school here. But we really want to make a concerted effort to have a culture where everybody appreciates everyone's role. Certainly we carry a certain number per position. Maybe you carry a handful more receivers this year because you're shorthanded as scholarship players. But overall, it contributes to the entire development of the roster. You know, how you practice, what type of competitive atmosphere you have. I mean, there was a number of days where right out there was walk-ons playing and scholarship guys watching. You know, I mean, we're an equal opportunity crew here. So we put 10 players on scholarship last year that were walk-ons. And I would hope going forward there's always going to be a couple guys on our team that earn it. You know, the Ashton Johnsons of the world, the Tanner Wiggins of the world. You know, those guys, Deuce Wallace's of the world, Shazir Malbrew, Jalen Williams, Alex Allen, Jackson Ladner. We wouldn't have, I mean, what we did in the first year, we couldn't have done it without those guys. So I think where our roster's at, there's going to be more and more stories like that, and there's nothing better, you know, than giving that guy a scholarship. I can promise you.
What's just your thoughts on just the increase in people transferring and the transfer protocol, as they say? So what's just your thoughts on just that happening, and how does it affect your recruiting year to year?
I think it's always happened. I mean, there's always players that maybe need a change of scenery. It's just a little more public now, you know, a little more media coverage. I think they've made it probably a little easier to quit, in my opinion. I don't think it's a good thing. I think that, but it is what it is. You know, we even had a handful of players leave here, you know, and I think that maybe is good for both of us in certain situations. So, you know, every one of those situations are different, you know. And certainly part of managing your roster is kind of like we're treating it like free agency. Who's on the free agent wire? Who maybe can we acquire? But a lot of that has to do with how many scholarships we have, what are the deficiencies we have on our roster, and, you know, do they fit, you know, not only from an ability standpoint but from a character. You know, we really dig into those situations and try to vet those guys before we pursue them.
Time for one more question, guys.
On that note, do you feel like you have any deficiencies after this class that you still need to address?
Well, we're never going to be happy, you know. My wife's probably never going to be happy with me, you know. But I think we got every year there's going to be somewhere where you feel like you could do a little bit better. But it's the sum of the parts. That's the key to the drill here, you know. Patrick Toney spoke to our team the other day. Talked about one of our core values, which is together. And, you know, the teams in the National Football League right now that have the most first-round draft picks on their team are the worst teams in the league. You know, the Patriots have the least number of first-round picks on their roster, and they just won the Super Bowl. So it's the sum of the parts, you know. Every team we play next year, they got deficiencies and issues just like we do. It's not about that. It's about the sum of the parts, and we're going to try to put a good team out there that'll play hard and represent, you know, what we believe in this place.
So you don't get in trouble, Valentine's Day is next Friday, just let you know.
Yeah, there you go.
Or actually next Thursday. Any injury updates?
You get the last question now, so no pressure here.
Right. Any injury updates? Keenan Barnes, Joe Dillon?
You know, it's probably, we need to do that at another time. You know, we had several off-season surgeries. We got lots of guys that are working really hard to recover from some of that. But, you know, those are day-to-day as well. But we'll be able to give you a little bit more detailed version of that maybe as we approach spring practice.